You're on.
Well, let's call the meeting to order. There are no guests or public comments, so the minutes of August 19th were in your packet. Do I hear any additions or corrections?
I've got a comment.
That'll be a first.
There is an extraneous attachment that doesn't belong to the manager's report of tab 7.
Oh, we're on the minutes. What are you
On
talking?
the first page, our manager is the news service, and on the second page, our manager is subject to that title.
Oh, yeah, well, that,
Well, those are minutes from 2000, Jim.
Right.
Right.
And why are they attached?
and I didn't even know what that was about.
Because we're gonna
Talk about it.
talk about it in the closed.
Oh,
We're on the minutes. Vera, would you listen and stand in order, please?
yeah, I'm looking right at it.
All right, well, you can't say anything else, because everybody, I'm asking for a motion to approve them as presented, or additions or corrections.
Okay, what is track A?
We're gonna discuss it in the
Later,
closed.
Jim, Well, when we get there. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Okay, Larry makes a motion. I want a second.
Second.
Miguel, second. You can't do that, you haven't sat down yet. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, we approve the minutes as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Lisa has nothing this morning.
Yes, sir.
Mary Cortez. You're on. You're gonna convince us that we can do this budget?
Yes, sir. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
On the investment report, there is a slight correction. Our CD 16001234 matured in the month of August, and we are reinvesting with Westar for 6 months at a rate of 0.50%. So it went down from 1.55.
Yeah, 155 to 0.5.
0.5.
This one.
And those T-bills, they're still real low right now?
Really low, yes. Yes,
At
and
least
at
we got that.
0.10111.
I'm still pretty proud of the 6 million at 2.49.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's great.
That turned out really good, didn't it?
Turns out the 30 is only like 1.4 something right now. On the T-bills. Crazy.
We don't have to prove it this month, do we? No, that's not.
No, this is not
next
required.
month.
Do we have any questions on the balance sheet?
Anything else, any questions on the balance sheet, but on the net revenue, are we missing a page? It just shows expenses and income, and doesn't show the,
Yes, sir, you are missing the net revenue.
yeah, that's what I thought there was a net. It says net
I
profit,
don't have it.
but I don't wanna say profit, it's spirit, it's all upset on
To be,
it. It doesn't matter, I mean,
Yeah.
it's, all it is a summation sheet.
And we do have it summarized along with the budget report for the new year as well.
Sure.
Well, that's fine, I like to say I just want something mentioned because I was looking for it, but, it doesn't really matter what's here, it's just a summation sheet. We can do our own math, I suppose.
Sharon's gonna make some
Anybody have any
copies.
comments of the net revenue and net expense, or the operating income and
I
expense?
just have one again. Mary, explain to me again on that, the third-party implementing again. Why we show that, and 1 year we show it, and 1 year we don't? It's when we get the payment or something, isn't that correct? If you look at the current one on line 4251. So you got, We got a 1.4 payment in August, is that correct?
That's correct.
The budget shows 4.1, so we're 1.12 over. But that's really a payment applied to next year, or what? Explain that to me again.
No, we've already received all 3 quarters and part of the last year's quarter in this fiscal. And the remaining 1.4 will be billed at the end of the year, which goes into our new fiscal. That would be at the end of December, beginning of January of next year.
Okay. All right, let me ask you then, on the year-to-date where it shows 5.2, that's because of a carry-in we had from the previous year. Was that the year we expanded our fiscal
Yes,
year?
the prior year, we received less, I believe, with
It's okay,
El
don't
Paso
worry about it.
Water.
Okay,
And then each year, it's always the current year with El Paso Water for the 2001 implement contract.
okay.
So those amounts change.
All right, but I mean, as far as budget, where we showed 4.1 and received 5.2, this is the only time that'll happen, is that correct? Because from then on, we should be proper, right? Because we had an extra 2 months or something in last year's fiscal, is that right? We basically went 14 months,
No, that was the year before.
was the year before?
Yes.
You're catching up there.
Yeah, it's taking me wrong, only 2 years behind.
When we switched to November 1,
Okay,
that was,
I think
Was it
that'll
2 years?
probably always be there because of the difference in the calendar year with what the bank payments are based on and our fiscal year is different.
When it comes to the 2001, we are very conservative on what we budget. It's always based on the current year and what we allocate and when we allocate. And usually that is approved further on along into the year. So then,
Adjustments.
once that's set, then we go ahead and bill El Paso Water quarterly. So we tend to be very conservative when it comes to the revenue with the 2001.
okay, thank you. All right. That's good enough, right? Well, what I'm getting at, I guess, is, are we gonna look at every year today, we may have a 5.2, even though our budget's gonna continuously show a 4.1?
No, no.
Then why did we have a 5.2 last year, I guess is my question. Try me again.
Because they sold that much more.
Yes.
we had a full allocation of
Okay, now it's coming clear, all
We
right.
sold that much more water,
Okay,
and they
never
still
mind.
have a payment for this year.
Now I got it, okay. Because we sold a full allotment year, and then,
Their payment comes in on a yearly basis, a calendar year, and our fiscal year is
okay, I'm starting to see.
different, so we have
Yes.
Yeah,
a little
okay,
time
now I see
lapse
it.
there.
Okay, thanks. Good. You don't have to do that to me another 2 or 3 times.
But I forgot what I said, so I'm sure. All right. Any other comments or questions about the net revenue and corporate report? If not, $500 check report.
So line 15, I see our engineer and the SBID attorney have joined the Weinberger Gogan, is that right?
And Sam,
I'm trying to get a reaction out of Al over here.
are you there, Al?
That's all right, never mind, they missed
I
my
don't think he's there. There he is.
Look at line 15, Al.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, never mind.
So what do you want
it was a funny,
It was a joke.
I did hear the SBID, but that's the only part. I'm not sure what that was about.
we did check with, just so you all know, with the county, and they are using nothing but white fuel in their vehicles, in their tractors, and their equipment, because they got the same ruling that we did from DPS that if you use the vehicle, if it runs a highway, you must use white fuel. So Pete and I have
Complaint or?
no, we have we're gonna go sit down with DPS and visit with them. We just didn't have time this week, but
Well, I thought on our tractors, it's a certain percentage.
Yeah, it's a certain percentage is what I understand.
That's what I always thought.
Yeah, but that's what the county warehouse,
So
that's
they
what
have
they
to
told
do
us,
it.
yeah, they're using all white fuel.
And he has a lot of money,
Yeah.
I always thought it goes on a percentage.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because, I mean, if you run
though.
your.
I imagine the county most of the time is on the road, but
Yeah,
ours, we're on the
and we're the
edge
opposite.
bank.
Yeah, we're the opposite, very little. Kind of like our tractors, when you run from one from the other. it's
Yeah.
not that much.
What's number 11, Chewy?
And that is the tower for our two-way radio up on the mountain.
Okay, so this is an annual fee for this one? It is? Okay. That's the name of the company,
Yes.
Evangelism?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they switched, like 10 years ago, I guess they sold it to these people.
Any other comments or questions about the power and dollar check report?
On number 3 and 42, no, Renee's up there, it's the same dates on there, just one's called services, and one's called general services, and one.
One's the Rio Grande compact,
Uh-huh,
the Supreme Court lawsuit,
right,
and the other one is district work.
okay.
So we separated, so we can keep track of what's Supreme Court, so
Right.
we have a correct figure.
Do we really want to?
Not really.
Anything else, George, or anything?
Very last one. Is that for the spotlight, is that for one spotlight? It says roof spotlight. Is that stock means it's just in the parts pile in case they need it or what?
Yeah, I
Because,
think, I don't remember the cost, but it is pretty high. It's that new spotlight that illuminates real nice.
On the
It's
roof?
probably got, yes, it's probably got maybe 4 or 5 times the power that the old spotlights had,
yeah.
and they really come in handy for the guys at night.
Hmm.
But they are expensive, but
I was looking them up and I don't know. It must be LED or something. I didn't even see them.
That's a spotlight.
They are LED.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
already used the word
they,
Well, now they are, but
they
it's
don't
always
like
Because that's about where the highest dollar one was.
For you.
at.
That's when you put on the paper.
the top, yeah. It's an LED that you use.
George, both those are really do.
Mhm.
I'm sorry?
Go in the spotlights.
Yeah, the LEDs, yeah. She was telling me she thinks it's for 2, so that makes sense.
You can remote control them
The
from,
spotlights.
you watch my thing, and you can remote control them.
Yeah.
They're ready.
They're LED lights.
And then not on the roof of your truck, just like.
Yeah.
You have a shovel you can remote control?
With your air gauge.
Johnny, I was at number 29.
I have one of those.
I would have never bought it.
It's number 29.
Yeah. Is that to buy the copy machine or what is that for? Is that a monthly fee?
That's the rental on the copy machine.
For all of them,
Is that per month, Mary, the
Or do we
number
buy a
29?
copy machine?
Fine.
Number
29.
29. I'm assuming we bought some parts for it or something.
rental and maintenance.
Now, that is our monthly. That's our fee if we go over our black and white or color,
Okay.
and
Gets
that's
pricey?
the excess charge.
Oh, okay. Wow. Didn't realize it was that
$3,000, that's
expensive.
a lot over black and white.
Okay.
And I think Rose sent out statements last month, Rose?
Well, it's Rose's fault.
Yes.
All right.
Gotta collect.
Mailings going out every month.
Delinquent accounts.
I didn't realize it was
Takes a lot.
that expensive.
It takes a lot of ink for those. Okay, credit card report. Rose? No question or comment? Legal and accounting consulting fees, budget report. have to be spending any money. But we are.
Spotlights were 161 apiece.
161 apiece?
161 apiece. We got 3 of them.
The spotlights. Yeah.
Fuck that.
Well, if not, Mary, guess you escaped. No, you got escaped.
She's got the most important one.
Yeah.
We got the budget.
Dun, 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 dun.
If you all remember, last time we discussed about the possibility of lowering the taxes this year, and what we recommended and what this budget is fixed on is to lower the cost of the water delivered, not the base taxes, to $10 an acre foot from 20. So it's just on the water delivered, not your base tax, which is $24. And you still pay $12 for the
Yeah.
The county
yeah,
service charge.
for the bill, yeah. So anyway, and you know what, I was thinking that would make $1,700,000 less revenue for the year, more or less for this year. But the difference from the revenue from this year and last year is only like 400,000. Right? Did I get that right? Remember what we were putting in comparison it?
About 1.4.
It's
We
his
went
dog.
from, tail end of 19 to 20 million eight.
I probably didn't mark it in my name budget where I saw that.
His background looks like he stated it.
I was talking about the gross, yeah,
The way it went down to 19,
497, yeah.
yeah, from 20 to,
See, but it wasn't, that's not over $1 million. I had a figure somewhere. Anyway, the net result compared to last year was less than what we affected this year, was 1,700,000 or however how many acre feet we actually delivered.
oh yeah, but even our estimate of fund balance is gonna go down 3.4. Even though we approved a 1.7
Because we're gonna
on
spend
the
more,
water.
we're gonna spend more on, what I got out of it, we're gonna spend more on
Cap.
capital investment on the project. Pete's gonna be a busy man this next year.
Yeah.
Robert's gonna be in Playa del Carmen on the beach. Go for it, Pete. You wanna go through it? Anybody, has everybody checked it? It looks fine to me, but if y'all have some questions about it, now's the time to ask them.
Was this budget for approval this month or this period or next month?
We'd like for you all to approve it today if possible.
Today?
Approve it today, it's,
Correct, it allows Kate to go ahead and place the orders. Of course, with the pandemic, the ordering has been delayed even further. But if he can get started with some of the purchases and we can have them in by the new fiscal November, December.
I think what I was looking at was this right here.
Yeah.
That,
On the revenue, right?
It's $411,968
That one
less
right there, yeah.
than it was last year. I was talking about the amount of money that we took in our revenue. It's only 400 less than it was last year. Not the 1,700,000 that I was for thinking. I wasn't afraid of this. The difference in revenue of the water. Of course, next year's going to be the reason. How much water are you planning on deliver next year for the 411? What did y'all use? Is there Al?
Yeah, it's, I'm not sure, Mary, what did we end up putting in there? Pretty low number, I'm sure. Nothing for the 2001.
Correct. I believe it was less than 100,000 for the 2001.
Yeah, and the actual farm deliveries we don't put in this, they'll be in the next budget after that, so, because of the way the fiscal, way it rolls through.
All right.
So, because we're billing in arrears, and so, so if we had to put a number into that, we'd probably put, what, 6 inches, but
Any other questions on the proposed budget for 2020, 2021?
On the budget, where do the grants fall under? Do they fall under capital projects?
For the revenue coming in on the grants, we are looking at account 40400.
Okay.
Especially with the other projects. Anything else? There's a list of the capital projects and things that they're assigning Pete on the next page in the back there.
Correct, it's the final page, that's the summation of all the projects.
You know about all that, Pete?
I sure do.
I didn't know whether they let you in on that. Okay. Anything else? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve it as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Next motion, Miguel second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Yeah, I realize that 170, that 400, you're roughly, because the year before we didn't collect it in 400, so we're doing now, we would have added 1.7, right? But instead,
So it's 1.3.
it's only 400,000.
I'm thinking backwards, which is,
Yep.
makes you 1 million. Okay, Mary, thank you. Good work.
Good job, Mary.
Since you used all the ink, you're on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I do have two tax adjustments. The first one, we're looking at removing a total of $16.76. This parcel is part of the ponding area. The reason we have not been taxing it because there was a lease to the Public Service Board. Once that lease expired, we were supposed to change the building to land, PSB land, and it was changed to a small tract, so it was our error. So we need to remove the 2019 tax assessment to county service charge and penalty interest from $16.76.
You need a motion to approve that separate from the other?
No, we can do it together.
Together, okay.
The second one, this property was scheduled for a tax sale. There was no bid, so it became, it was struck off to the El Paso County as just, the 2018 taxes had to be prorated, and that would be 155 days taxable. So that remains on the books. We remove 210 days. We also have to prorate the penalty interest, the collection fee, and then we also need to remove the 2019 tax assessment, the county service charge and penalty and interest. That would be for $83.46.
I just have a piece of property, that interests me, and how long has that been like that? Paul Surratt was a farmer when I was a little boy here in Clint. He's one of the Surratt brothers, and he died pretty young with a heart attack.
That one goes back to 2001, it was delinquent. So they decided, I can provide that information for you.
Well, I was just wondering if you knew offhand, it's a small parcel, and I was wondering how that still was still in his name.
It's an acre and a
here.
half, Mr. Stokes.
Acre
An
and a
acre and a
half?
half.
Really? You must, why wouldn't anybody buy it? It's right.
Yeah, or the direct.
I bet they
I
don't
can
even
find out
know
for you, I
it.
can contact the law firm.
Did you know Jerry Hobb?
No.
That was his son-in-law, but nobody knew him, but that, I saw that name, I saw Paul's Rat since I was a little boy, and that's how long ago. He was David.
I was gonna ask you if Paul Surratt was something, one of the Surratt.
Yeah, exactly, he was one of the brothers of David and Howard and Jim. It's kind of funny to see that still named after all these years. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the two adjustments?
This was filed in 2014, so that they've been trying to collect, this from the law firm. And
There's nobody there, that's what I say, I bet his heirs probably doesn't even know it exists.
Well,
I have no idea who his heirs are, because that's so long ago.
because they do run titles, the law firm, to locate heirs.
That's what I'm saying, so the heirs, he has heirs, but they don't know they have an acre of land here, I promise.
If you want, I can get that information for you.
I don't have any idea, yeah, you know, you might, because I could call Diane Otten and she could maybe run them down.
Because
She would be a
after
cousin.
the property, if there's no sale, it becomes a struck off account. The property owner can come back and get the property within a 2-year period.
In 2-year period. All right. Yeah, if you give me that information, I
Sure.
want to, because, I mean, it's just out there.
Okay.
Nobody knows it's there. So, I might solve a mystery.
I'll have that for you in a second.
Okay. I entertain a motion to approve them as the adjustments as,
So,
Larry makes a motion. Art seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, Roby.
Our next report is excuse me, the El Paso Public Service Board, also known as Paso Water, the Lower Valley Water District. Those are assignments. And then we have tax suit. This is just a report for information purposes. And I do want to point out Lower Valley Water District, we've found 677 leases between the months of June, July, and August.
Yeah. Somebody woke up over there.
You got me. I was one of them. Yeah, you know, you just look at what they've done.
Yeah.
Once they got started, you know, I got almost as much as the city of El Paso did. Not 300 left.
Now, if they go to those delinquents and the
Yes, sir.
taxes,
Yeah, it should clear it up.
it'll be the next step.
Should get a lot more. Now they're offering to pay the delinquency, right? Did I say that
Well, there's still talk.
Yeah, supposedly, Jerry said that what they're going to do is offer their constituents a loan to pay off the delinquent taxes and then deduct it, the payments on their water bill.
They're getting money on
That's-
it.
It'll cost more for the accounting than it was what the taxes are.
Yeah. So
So
anyway,
keep on track of that.
That's the latest that he told us when last week.
All right.
Our next report is a comparison between the 2018 and 2019 tax assessments. September at this time, we were at 98.6332%. We are trailing. We're at 98.2446%. years.
Yeah, it's not much, but it's.
Any questions on those reports?
All right, Rose, go use some more ink.
Get it ready.
Thank you, keep up the good work. All right, Judy.
Okay. That item A, the track twos, I'd like to move that to the close because of the possibility of litigation.
You know, I don't even remember that.
You know? Okay. We'll explain it further and we'll close it.
Maybe it'll come back to.
And then, item B, we've targeted, you have that PowerPoint check?
Yes, you want to share, you want me, share the screen now?
Okay, should be good.
Okay, is that snow behind Al?
It's snow,
Where are you, Al, Blair?
not in Austin.
I'm in Denver.
I was gonna say that.
That's granite rock. It's white rock.
Oh, okay. All right, you're.
Vail, Colorado.
Maybe take his pocketbook and bail. I tell you, I was just there. City.
So after this season of a lot of issues going on with the Island Main Canal, I know that there's at least two farmers here that are very knowledgeable about this canal, but it's been a big problem not only to the farmer, but also to maintenance and operations, and everything from the canal banks to the channel itself. So we're targeting, and I wanted to present to you all two options that we have on how to go about concrete lining the channel. And this is what you see there where the truck is. That's the Guadalupe. It's concrete lined, and then from where the truck is down, that's the downstream of the Island Main.
Yeah, that's actually, you're going north from the deal down.
Right.
You're going down, you're going north.
So we've got pecan orchards on both sides of this canal. A total of a little over 7,000 acres are irrigated off of this canal. And it's the banks are very sandy and porous, and so is the channel. And if we would concrete line it, it would eliminate a lot of problems and probably save a lot of water.
You get a lot of sand in that deal out of the riverside too.
Yes, and you see where that green vegetation is there next to the canal. You see all the piles of sand that Pete's had to stockpile there and then come back and move it out as we go along.
It's a real problem. In a lot of the places, it's real high altitude compared to the neighboring stuff. It's very
We've tried liner from keeping it from breaking and keeping the.
That liner, remember why we put that liner in? Was because it was that drain ditch flow. We were trying to stop it leaking into the drain ditch before we got it covered up. We put that, it's lasted quite a few years. But that stuff is not permanent.
The water got underneath it and
Yeah,
floated.
once it starts, it's nothing but a problem.
Yeah. Oh, there's another look at it. So we have two ways we can go. We can either, with Texas Water Development Board, get a SWIFT loan, and we estimate that Omar's put some figures together with Pete. That's the total cost, what it would cost us to concrete line the 4 miles of canal, and which the top portion, the labor would be in kind, the equipment would be in kind. We put in some equipment purchase. If we go with a SWIFT loan, we have the capabilities of buying additional equipment if we would need it, shotcrete machine or other equipment that Pete utilizes. And then the supplies and materials would be the steel panels that we utilize now on all our canal banks before we shotcrete. And this has doubled what the possibilities of what the age could be of this canal once we concrete line it. We estimate that, or Al gave us a figure of maybe 50 years longevity, where if we just shotcrete with the rubber liner, it could be 10 years and it could be up to 20 years of life expectancy. And then the compliance would be different things like we have to get it engineered, we have to pass it through the historical commission and so on. So we're just estimating. And then contingency, we always put a contingency. Omar figured $500,000 on this. You know, that's a possibility we could take that off if we decide to go this way. If we decide to apply for the grants, the first scenario here, if we applied for $1.5 million grant through the USBR, there's very little hope that we would get it, but we wanted to show you we could apply for it, but then we could start at the earliest in 2022 possibly, and complete it in 2025 if we went with this scenario. If we went with the applying for $700,000, that would be the first application would be the one on top there, and our matching would be $714,000, and but it would still not be completed till 2025. And then if we applied, that would be doing half 2 miles of the canal, and then if we applied for the second grant to do the other 2 miles, we wouldn't finish till 2026. So we've got the option of applying for SWIFT money. It would be at the least a loan of 20 years, and the interest rate is almost nothing. But I've got Omar working with Texas Water Development Board on getting that. We don't, we just wanted some direction from you all, see what you all thought of our idea of possibly going with a SWIFT loan.
If you got a loan, when would you get it constructed?
If we got a loan, we could have the money in hand December of 2021, and we could construct the starting of
next year.
Yeah, 2022.
It'd be done.
And then it would also give us the capabilities of, if not Pete was swamped, we could go out and get bids from contractors on it. I think it would be a good surprise as to what contractors want.
You guys, and I think I told you too, you're required by law to have an election to borrow money for more than 1 year.
Right.
So you have to have an election, like a bond election.
Yeah.
So that's the only downside of that. But we wanted to show you all both scenarios, and Al had talked about the possibility that maybe we didn't have to have an election if we showed some savings and team up with El Paso Water. Al, is that correct?
Yeah, you have to have an election if it's going to be paid for out of tax dollars. If it's a revenue, for example, like the 2001 contract generated revenue. So if you enter into a 20-year contract for revenue, simultaneous with the 20-year loan, that becomes a revenue loan, not a tax loan. And that one, you don't have to have an election, you just have to have the contract in place to pay for the loan from non-tax sources. Does that make sense? So if the money to pay the loan off is coming from taxes, assessments, then you need to have an election to get it approved by the taxpayer. If it's a revenue type, then it requires some other legal things, but it doesn't require the election.
Right. Revenue bonds, they used to call them, but it's a revenue loan, it'd be the same thing.
Yeah, it's the SWIFT loan is effectively a bond.
And that's how they built the community college to start with. They tried it 2 or 3 times and the taxpayers turned it down, and so then they got the revenue bonds, and it didn't require an election. That's a long time ago, but I can remember that street, and I remember what he's talking about. That's a slick move, Bobby Bias.
So the least that we, if we do apply for a SWIFT loan, they finance it for, the minimum is 20 years, but we could pay it off earlier, like we could pay it off in 10 years if we wanted to.
Did we do some projections on that before, make up our mind which way to
Yes.
go? And
Yeah.
see what they're gonna do, more information out of them, and get a kind of a concrete deal? I've always been opposed to borrowing money for our district, but in this case, with the interest rates like they are, you know, I think it's worth considering, because,
Well, and the revenue part, the revenue you're talking about with the city, how would that work? Offsetting it.
Offsetting, if we were to deliver enough water, more water to them, where they will pay us for it, and we will use that.
the contracts that we already have, we can't just tie it to what we've already got. That's revenue.
We're up to amend the 2001 agreement, and we could, at that time that we did the amendment, we could incorporate this as an additional water conservation project. So sure, I don't think we'd want to do a new contract, since we have the option of using the existing one.
No, that's what I'm saying, we should have some that would cover that. Even the drainage contract would cover the payment of that every year, I would think.
It has to be incorporated into the contract, so we'd have to modify those contracts. But yes, it's anything that we can target revenue that's not taxpayer money to make the payment, as long as we have that identified. And you can understand the reason for that, because you don't want that revenue to be after you borrow the money, you don't want that revenue to be redirected. It has to be restricted so that it can't be redirected.
Well, that too, and you know, I mean, you can put a finer pencil to what it will really cost us to do it. Out there, we may can just pay for it with our own money.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by our own money. We don't have any of our own. It's all our money's the taxpayers' money. But we'd have to find revenue sources that are non-tax sources to pay for it, right?
No, I'm not talking about getting a loan. I'm talking about building a canal and using it out of our
Reserves.
Oh, out of our
purse.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
that's
just do
another
it.
thing.
You could spread it out over more years. But I think you guys, effectively the purpose of the loan is to get the construction done in a 2-year or 3-year period, and then pay the loan off over 20 years.
But also, I know that if you sit down and figure what it would really cost the district to do it, it would be a lot less. I'd like to see what that figure is myself.
Okay, so
my rule of thumb, once you get funding, state funding get involved, your minimum difference is 10%. In other words, you're going to have a 10% increase just to take care of the management of the financial aspect of it. So, and at times, you know, we talk about the federal government, you get the federal government involved in big projects, and it take 30 to 40% more than what we would do it without having borrowed the money. But we don't have that type of revenue to do this one, because we're already committed on our 5-year plan to other projects. We could redirect the 5-year plan if you guys want to do that.
Well, right. I mean, we have all kinds of options in that case, whichever one is the best deal in the long run is what we need to look at. So I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'd like to see a third option here.
And we've got the 2001 contract coming up and the stormwater contract coming up this coming year, so negotiate.
And don't, and keep looking at the grant too, because I saw your chart, you're only gaining a year, aren't you?
Well, no, if
Get
we
it.
did the grant application, then that's still if we're,
23, you said start.
if we get awarded.
23.
Still,
Oh, yeah.
2026 would be
Still
the
have to get it.
the earliest, yeah, that we could finish it if
We
we got
need
grant
another
money.
pipeline.
Okay. So when that's done,
We'll pay for it tomorrow.
Julie,
So-
or I have a question,
Uh-huh.
or maybe for Al, but, this typical canal to line, okay, we have all this yearly maintenance, it's worth so much money
Mhm.
versus